I was born in Postville, Iowa in 1924. And from there I moved to Claremont, which was 8 miles. I went to school, 12 years in school. When I come out of high school is when I went to the war. And the night before, I hadn't enlisted. The night before I was going to leave, they come down, took my transportation papers away from me. So I went to the draft board and I told them, I said, I want to go in the next draft. So I went to Camp Dodge. And then I had my choice of the Army, Navy, or Marines. So I took the Navy because that's where I wanted to go. So I went on active duty the 1st of June in 43. Then I went to San Pedro, California, where my ship was being built. And we left there, supposed to have been on a shakedown cruise in December. And 7 days later, we ended up in Hawaii. So now I left there in January and went to the Marshall Islands. My first stop was Kwajalein, which I probably spent about 9 months there. And I was at 3 different places there. And then when the war ended, I was in the Philippines. And from there, I went to Okinawa. We left out around a typhoon, and I flew from there home. And I went to Great Lakes for discharge duty, and I spent 8 months there. So I was close to home, and when I'd get 3 days off, I'd come home to Claremont and spend it with my folks.
So when you got to Hawaii, that had been 2 years after the Pearl Harbor attack.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
What were things like over there?
I really can't tell you because I never went ashore. We was only there 30 days. In January of 44, we left and went to, the islands. And this ship right here says AR-6. After a year, we were doing such a good job, they took the A off. Instead of being auxiliary, we was strictly a repair ship. I was a yeoman. My primary job was typing up the war diary every day, which was, sent to Washington or wherever. So we had 3 close calls, even though we were back of the lines. One time when I was in Kwajalein, we had an aircraft carrier tied up alongside of us for repair. And one of them kamikazes hit the aircraft carrier on the fantail, hit the flight deck and went down through it. And we had these navigation maps and the flag of the rising sun from Japan, but they took them away from us. So my next encounter was a submarine. I don't know what base I was at then, but they had, like a net where you enter the harbor, and evidently a one-man submarine got in there. So they blew him up and killed him. Then after the war was over, when we left the Philippines to go to Okinawa, a mine went right down alongside the ship. Just lucky it didn't touch no metal. I probably wouldn't be here today. So when we were in Kwajalein, that was right shortly after we left, we got dysentery on the ship. And I lost my best friend. And he was buried overseas, out in the ocean or whatever. So, yeah, we had half the ship down with dysentery, and it was caused by preparing vegetables in salt water. And so from then on, they started making them use, fresh water. So, yeah.
So he never made it?
No, I never got sick, thank goodness, because I'd have probably been one one of the ones that wouldn't have made it either.
Okay.
I never had any problems. That's what they wondered. I was sent from Great Lakes to Minneapolis for discharge. And then I rode the Burlington Zephyr down to Prairie Sheen, Wisconsin. And that's where my folks picked me up. And I worked for a contractor, John Powell, before I went. When I came back, I went right back to work for him again. So,
just like you never left.
Yep, it's like I never left.
Okay.
You know, there's only one thing I can't understand, and I know this is going on yet today. Why in the world is it that Korean veterans and Vietnam veterans get so much more attention than World War II? You know, there's only a few of us left. I just cannot believe, even out there in Washington, even in 2000, when they built that memorial out there, I can't understand why there's Korea and Vietnam and never World War II.
We got a big one out there now.
Yeah, they do. I went out there on the honor for like 4 years ago. Yeah, I loved it.
Too.
You know, we went down to Newton when they were engraving and cutting it, and boy, I just, there isn't words to express how I feel about it. Yeah, I really love it.
You think the pictures on it depict
Oh,
everything
yeah.
that it needs to say?
You know, my favorite picture on the monument was in Washington is the raising of the flag on Iwo Jima. That's my favorite memorial. The thing that bothers me, and the thing that bothered me when we went down for the dedication, was the fact that a World War II veteran is the one that kicked this off. I can't remember his name now, but I have the program yet. And he was the one that, you know, started all the donations and whatnot. So, yeah, I'm very proud of him. You know, when we went down to Newton, all that stuff in the middle, all that etching, was done by a woman. She's 72 years old, and she used to be an art teacher down there. So, yeah.
Did a nice job on it.
And we went through where they sandblasted the rest of it, all the writing. So, yeah, it was a very good trip. One thing I did, when we went by Tarawa, you remember that bloody battle with the Marines? I saw a kamikaze hit the beach. He missed his target and blew up. It was just a big ball of fire. And I got to see that when we were going from island to island one night.
My name is Don Wingrove. I was born and raised in western Iowa in Crawford County. And I was drafted into the Navy in 1944. And I went to Chicago for my boot camp. I was in Company 1557. And there, my training was, a lot of it was KP. And while I was there, the cook asked me if I would go to cook and baker school. And I turned him down, and that was one of the first mistakes I made. always make a mistake.
There were more?
Yes. So, from there I went to San Diego, and I went to gunnery school in Coronado, California. Oh, it was beautiful there. I loved that place. That was living. And I really liked that. Then after my gunnery school, well, the gunnery sergeant we had there, he said to us guys, he said, you guys better learn how to shoot that gun. Because where you're going, if you don't, them suicide planes are going to get you. So we got a pretty good training there. And then after the gunnery training, I got trained for taking the guys in a VBP vote to take the guys to the island off of that transferred off of a bigger ship. And I done 2 weeks of that, run them to the beach and back off and go get another load. So I really got I got three trainings before I ever got to Pearl Harbor. When I got to Pearl Harbor, why, they put me on a ship that only had 63 people on it, 3 officers and 60 men. That was all that was on there. And we trained a little bit around Pearl Harbor, but then they was going to send us to Korea. So on the way to Korea, we got in that typhoon. And you talk about an experience. That was an experience going through that typhoon. We were eating that night when that first wave hit us, and it just laid that ship right on its side because it was only 158 feet long and 28 feet wide. And it just laid us right on our side. All the food stacked up on the deck, and we never seen a bite to eat for 3 days. That really was an experience. We lost all the engines and had 3 cracked seams out of that. So the quartermaster, I don't know how he done it, but anyway, he flagged the ship to come and tow us into Pearl Harbor to get fixed up again, because we were just bobbing out there in the water. The water was so deep in the ocean there, our anchor wouldn't even reach the bottom of the ocean. We just bobbed out there. And that was an experience too. But anyway, when they towed us into Pearl Harbor, and we got into Pearl Harbor, we couldn't go into ship docks. Ship was so small, we had to go to submarine docks to get patched up. And that was pretty good, being in there after we got patched up in Pearl Harbor, where they sent us back out again. And we patrolled Guam and Saipan, and that was pretty good duty right there, Guam and Saipan. All we done was just float around the island and keep the Japanese from shooting at people. And we did get one bullet from off of the island there. And we seen which bunker come out of it. We didn't ask if we could shoot, we shot. And that bunker just blew all apart. It must have been full of ammunition, because we really blowed it up. And after that, why, we then headed for Japan, because we knew we was going to get to go to Japan. And we got to almost to Japan when they dropped the bomb. And we, the next day after they dropped the bomb and declared the war was ended, they said to us, I don't know, there's probably 15 of us, those little ships in the flotilla. And we got orders then to return to San Francisco. And on the way to San Francisco, why, Captain called us up and he said to us, he said, when we get into San Francisco, he says, you get everything that you own off of this ship. Because he said they're going to decommission it and sink it. And that got me to thinking here this year. Why I have never seen anything of mentioned in our records any place. What happened to us in our records? It's just not there. We have a DD-214 that is completely plain. There's nothing on it anyplace. And when I came here, I got to talking to a pilot. He was a B-24 pilot. I partner eat with him every meal. And he, after they took back the Aleutian Islands, he would fly soldiers from the Aleutian Islands back to the islands in the Pacific where they were fighting. And he says, my DD-214 has nothing in it either. No record of anything that he had done. And this is a concern to him and I both. And this year I found out why. There was none of this stuff in the records. Our mail was censored, and it still is yet today. 70 years later. I watched the dropping of the bomb here about a week before, on a movie before September the 7th. And in that movie, I found out why there wasn't anything in our records, because they delete it. Delete all that stuff out of there. I've posted on Facebook for my kids, because I didn't tell them anything, that I would let them know a little bit of where Dad was in the war, what he done. And this is the way they're going to find it out. When I posted those things on Facebook, the day of September the 7th, I wrote a post in the Facebook and told them, I said, this is where your dad was at on September the 7th when they dropped the bomb. And it got deleted out. We were back. We were a gunboat, and we were back far enough that we were always back far enough to we had rockets. We carried rockets. We had 10 rocket launchers on our ship. And we would shoot them over the heads of the soldiers as they was going on the beach. So we were always back. And I never did see Japan, because we were back too far. But when the captain told us that we take everything off of the ship when we get into San Francisco, we found out or Dick and I found out that's why we don't have nothing in our records because it's always deleted out. Our mail was always censored, everything like that. And I posted, I posted that first day. I posted the second day, the same kind of a message. My kids, that was deleted out, and the third day I posted another one, and that was all deleted out too. So they don't want us, they don't want people to know where we was at. You're finding out today where we was at, because I can prove this. I wouldn't say nothing I can't prove. And I just, my kids are going to get a surprise.
So do you remember what it was like coming out of the service then? Or?
Yeah. Oh, yes. That was an experience, too. When I got discharged and come out of the service in 1946, I came home and I never seen anybody that I knew. And I was drafted with 5 other guys, and they all, I don't know where they went. I was the only one that went to the Navy. And the only thing I met when I come home was draft dodgers. That's all it was there, was because I was from a little bitty community on a farm, you know. Didn't know nobody because we didn't, but that was my experience coming home, and I got mad at Dad when I got home. I should have stayed in California, because the next day after I got home, he put us down in, my 2 brothers and I, down in the corn rows pulling cucumber's on our belly.
Yeah,
Oh God, I was mad. I almost went back to California on that one. Oh, jeepers.
So
But
when you got to Hawaii, that was like 3 years after the attack over there. What was it like when you got there?
Hawaii?
Yeah.
Well, Arizona was all blowed up, and I got to see that firsthand.
Was it still right where it was hit?
Yep. Yeah, I seen that. And you know what? There was a man here that just died a couple of years ago, got blowed off of Arizona. He lived here. Talk about somebody interesting to talk to. He was interesting to talk to. He explained to me one day about swimming through that fire to get to the island. He had an experience. That boy did. He earned every penny he could get.
I kind of think everybody did.
Man, that was something. When I came back, I had 6 months yet I had to do because I didn't have enough points to get out. And they sent me to an ammunition depot down at Seal Beach, California. And yesterday, I had a good experience. There was a guy here that I know, and he's a World War II veteran. And his niece come to see him yesterday from California. And guess what? She lives by the ammunition depot. I had quite a chat with her.
So it's still there.
Oh, yeah, it's still there. Yeah. But I used to, when I went to that ammunition depot, they put me in the truck hauling, well, it's like buses they got here, hauling workers to the igloos. I done that for a couple weeks. Then they bought me a brand new tractor and trailer. They bought 3 of them, and I got one of them, and 2 of the other guys each got one, and that was our job, to go to San Pedro, and they'd load those bombs off of those ships, and we'd take them back to the igloo. And hey, I liked that. That was good duty. I didn't have to touch nothing. I did. That was good duty. And I could have went back. The Commodore commander, the commander of the ammunition depot called me in when it come time for me to get discharged. He said to me, he said, Don, he said, I wish you'd stay here and drive truck for me. And I turned him down. That was the second mistake I made. 'Cause I liked that. But we lived. Dad farmed west of Denison, or west of Denison. That's where he lived when we was pulled to Cuckleburrs.
I suppose you used to date Donna Reed then.
But I knew where Donna Reed lived. She only lived 2 miles from us.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Did you ever see her?
Huh?
Did you ever see her?
Oh yeah. Yeah. When I graduated from the 8th grade, she was in Denison there, I think in that class. Yeah.
Interesting. Huh.
Well, I've 10 years fighting for that monument. I did. Me and my wife, we put in a pretty good sized donation to get that started. And then we found out here, that's one thing I'll give Jody credit for. She told us why they couldn't get any help for that monument here. The people that work here can't give us any know how to get money. But you know, the Osmond men come here one day, and I get asked to go to a lot of meetings. And I went to this state meeting over in the DAC building, and our meeting was over, and Cammie Holmes was there, and she come to me after the meeting. She says to me, she says, you act like you've got something to say and haven't said it. I said, I got a lot to say and haven't said it, but there's no place to say it here. And she says, tell me what it is, maybe I can help you. And I told her, and she said, I'll see what I can do about that. And she did. Her and that crew out of Grinnell, for Grinnell Mutual Insurance, they went to work, and before I knew it, they had $20,000 already. And that's what we said we wanted for the monument. Well, next time I seen her, we had $25,000. Then when we come to decide on the monument, we had $30,000. Hey, I was riding high on that. That really made me and my wife feel good to think that people really did donate, and I appreciate that. All those designs and stuff, the Soldier Boys, well, Mike had a lot to do with that too.
Hines?
Yeah, Mike.
Mike Hines?
Yeah, he had a lot to do with that. But we wanted the stone to come out of the United States. We didn't want no foreign material in it. We had enough foreign material.
Yeah.